My name's Kevin Lindell, and as Jason mentioned, I'm the bridge maintenance and construction engineer. So I've been in my current role for a little over a year. But the project that I'm going to present on today, I actually was in construction at the time and managed this job at the beginning stages, the contracts that happened before it, and until about halfway through the project when I moved on. So I actually have a lot of slides, a lot of them are pictures, so we'll see how I'm doing on time, and I might have to go through some of the picture slides pretty quick. All right, so I'm not really I'll cover this as we go along, but so project description. So the purpose and need, basically to maintain and preserve the corridor in a state of good repair. And to ensure that we got an additional 30 years of service life out of the repairs that we made. So the biggest things were barrier overlay, upgrading the lighting throughout the corridor, guardrail, and improving and enhancing the safety along the stretch that we went out and fixed. So in this picture you can see this actually stretches, it's about 5 miles long was the project limit. So from where the 495 split is coming northbound all the way up to almost the 202 interchange just north of Brandywine River Bridge. So as I mentioned, it covers a 5-mile stretch. I believe the ADT at the time was around 110,000. It actually included 19 bridges and over 3 miles of pavement. We reconstructed 11 exit and exit ramps, which I'll touch base on that a little bit later as far as how we handled the phasing. Another key thing that we did to enhance safety was the addition of a 4th lane on the northbound side of Brandywine River Bridge. That structure is actually over 2,000 foot long, I believe. And the ramp that comes in from Delaware Ave to northbound 95, it was a very short yield condition, and there was a lot of collisions, both cars trying to pull out and excel as well as collisions from behind. So we added a 4th lane to allow acceleration on, and it definitely improves safety from that standpoint. So this project at one point, I believe, was one big contract, and then it got broken up at some point. But basically, this is the main project that I'm covering today, which was done through CMGC. But there was also, as part of that, 3 advanced contracts that were your typical design bid build that were completed just prior to mainline starting. And those were all 3 separate contractors that did those. And again, it was CMGC contracting method, and that included 3 early work packages that I'll cover shortly. In all projects together were well over $200 million. So the 3 southern bridges, the viaduct and the Brandywine River Bridge, all had LMC overlays that we needed to repair, and we ended up using a modified Class D overlay, but this just gives you an idea of some of the quantities that we were putting down, as well as the parapets replacing more than 15,000 linear foot, replacing more than 12,000 linear foot of joints, which there's a lot of joints out there and a lot of demo time when it comes to man hours and how to phase that. We used UHPC link slabs where we were able to eliminate joints. And then some of the roadway repairs, as I mentioned, the safety barriers, over 17,000 foot of new guardrail, updated the street lighting, and all new hot mix through the at-grade sections and the southern section of the job. So the 3 advanced breakout contracts, we did some of the bridge bearings. We also did bridge bearings in the main contract, but locations where we could get it done in advance and it made sense, we did that, broke that out. Same with our overhead sign structures. But one of the key contracts that actually it worked out perfect timing-wise, because we got this 2nd Street ramp. It actually replaced 2 on-ramps to southbound 95. But again, it was a short yield condition at the top. You had accidents all the time there. So we took it down, reduced it to 1 on-ramp, and we're able to allow for a much longer excel lane to improve safety there. But that job drove everything. So, because 2nd ramp had to be open throughout the duration of of the project. And if that project was not complete, it would have pushed the schedule of this, of the mainline project. So luckily that contractor got that done a couple months before we started the big job. Then 3 of the early work packages, so this is part of the CMGC, but what we do is we're able to, throughout the process, the design process working with the contractor, 3 of the things that we did, so material procurement, to be able to get long lead time items, get that done sooner before we came to a final design on the mainline contract. Another big one was installing the demo shields so that we got an early jump on that. So come March 1st of 2021 when we started, we were able to start demoing right away and get going rather than having to start putting in temp shield. As well as beefing up the crossovers when we did contraflow on 95. I'll cover this real quick. Basically, it was CMGC, which worked out great with this one. It basically, it allows you to sit down with the designer, the contractor, work together on the design, see how they want to build it, curtail the design to that, as well as like coming up with innovative ideas to cut costs, to cut down on schedule times. This project, I believe, was originally 7 phases, and in the end, it ended up being 3 main phases. So this is just a chart. You have the owner who works directly with the construction manager, which in this case was Kiewit, and the engineer of record was WRA. And I think we had a great team on this one. It ended up being a big success. So real quick, I already mentioned about the advanced contract. 2nd Street finished January of 2021. Day 1 of construction was March 1st, 2021. We were substantially completion by December of 22. And in the end, we met our goal of, we actually achieved less than 2 years of reduced lane capacity on 95, which was under, we had a 2-year cap, and we came in under that. All right, so here's what the phasing looks like. So basically, phase 1 is simply northbound shutdown. We had built crossovers as part of the early work packages also. So now we put all of northbound 95 on the southbound 95. So everywhere where there was 3 lanes, we've reduced it by 1 lane. So 3 lanes went to 2, 2 lanes went to 1. And then it's just a matter of like phases A, or 1A and 1B, is just a matter of which ramps are open or shut at the time while we're reconstructing, because you always had to maintain access northbound and southbound into the city. We did kind of get a little lucky with COVID, or really lucky with COVID when it came to a traffic volume standpoint, and being able to take advantages of some closures that we would not normally have been able to with larger traffic volumes. So that did help us out. So then phases 2 is now you have northbound 95 complete, you put traffic on that side, and then you'll see in some future slides how we phased the southbound lane configurations depending on where you're at. And then phase 3 is doing some drainage work, closing up median barriers, but you're back to full capacity. So this slide real quick, just at the top you can see it has the segments. So the contractor broke it up into 4 main segments. So the south segment, which is everything south of the viaduct, it has 3 bridges. The viaduct, which is about a mile long. Then north segment is the at-grade section through the city, leading up to the Brandywine segment, which is the Brandywine River Bridge up to the project end limits right at the 202 interchange. So this is kind of what it looked like. So the orange, when you look at the top left photo up there, the orange, that's northbound, it's now closed. And now we've contraflowed. It used to be 3 lanes each direction in that segment, now it's 2 lanes each direction, but all vehicles are now on the southbound pavement. The top picture to the right shows the north segment at Brandywine River Bridge. Which again, that's like a 2,000 foot long bridge. And we're working all on northbound. And then the picture at the bottom shows as you're coming up to enter into the city, Again, it's just northbound closed. So here's some actual photos of what that looks like. So here's the south segment. You have the vehicles on the southbound pavement. And you can see in this photo, if you see here how this looks different than this right here, right? So what we did, this job included hydro demo before we put down the new overlay. But the contractor at the same time was trying to remove all these joints because we're trying to get this job done. He had to meet his schedule. So he had to phase it though, because access into and out of the project was a huge thing. You have over 5 miles of barrier. Anytime there's an accident, which we had plenty, it backs traffic up like crazy. Now any concrete trucks you have coming in or out, like can't get there. So what they ended up doing was once we hydroed, they didn't want heavy equipment riding on it. So they hydroed this side first. This side is milled, and they would just run the trucks here until they poured this side and then flip-flop. Then they would hydro that and pour that side. And throughout, we did create different temporary access points in the barrier, depending on what traffic was dictating that we could do to allow better access into and out. Because as they start removing all those joints, you only have so many steel plates and room to work, and it got really tight. Here's another shot. You can get a good idea, same type deal. You have the plates with the joints. They have steel plates all over everyone with cones showing trucks where to go. So this is at the northbound MLK exit ramp. This structure is actually, this was another big risk to the project, but it ended up working out well. Kiewit was able to deliver on their end, working with Amtrak. But as far as the Amtrak lines go right here, and there's a catenary line, and it's actually connected to the bottom of the beam. So Kiewit did a great job coordinating with Amtrak and working with them during allowable outages to get the demo shield in, where we could do that demo and rebuild that section over Amtrak. And then the picture on the right just shows we had, I believe, for phase one, I believe we had 4 or 5 of these access towers that allowed their workers to park underneath and get up to the top via those towers. So access was a huge thing and limited on this project. I'll just mention real quick right here. So this is, again, is phase one. This car right here, sorry, my hand's all shaky, but this ramp that goes into this Y, right? So normally in its configuration today, that's the northbound 95 and then northbound or southbound 95. That's how you would access it with traffic flowing that way. We actually flipped the ramp. So now rather than cars coming on the southbound 95 from there, we're taking them into the city from there. We had to always maintain access into the city, and we were demoing and reconstructing the other northbound ramps at the time into the city. So another cool thing that we did there, flip that. It worked out well. We're entering the at-grade section now. It's just another photo. This is at 11th Street. So now here we go. This is coming up to BRB. And you can see we're building, we have a crossover point right here where we have to bring the ramp all the way across. But what that does though, if I can like right in here, we had to leave access points open because our construction, although this section's closed, we had to maintain this ramp on the northbound 95. So now we have these gaps in here to get our construction vehicles in and out. And then again, just a picture. So here's what phase 2 looks like. I'll kind of just it's mainly just what ramps are open and off, but the picture up here, so the green is now we've completed phase 1. All of the northbound is done. Brand new overlay, brand new everything. So now we switch traffic over. We have 2 lanes coming up through this viaduct section. The lane that has vehicles all the way to the far left is bringing on traffic from 2nd Street ramp. So all local traffic coming out of the city is coming on via that outside lane. And then the other southbound lane running just adjacent to the two northbound lanes, that's bringing your traffic that's coming down from north of 202 interchange going through the city. So the only way to be in that very outside lane is to get on 2nd Street ramp southbound in the city. This just kind of shows another bigger picture of what I just showed. This is another one leading up into the at-grade section, but you can see now there's that one southbound lane that's, I know it's hard to see at the bottom, but this is coming from the northern section of BRB down. And 2nd Street is over here bringing cars onto that outside. So here's kind of what it looks like with some drone photos. So right here is where we built this crossover earlier on. So here's where we're going to contraflow. We're bringing southbound in onto the northbound side. This is what it looks like going over Brandywine River Bridge. And you can see also here we're replacing the finger joints. It got all new overlay as well. A shot the at-grade section through the city. And you can see here we are constructing a new ramp here. And now we're on the viaduct. And this is the 2nd Street ramp that was constructed right before this main line started. And this is bringing on all the cars from inside the city. This is another aerial shot of the viaduct segment. And then here they are. This is traffic volumes were playing in our favor. Well, even though it doesn't look like it on the one picture, but there was actually an accident. There was an accident up ahead that backed all that up. But that's what you're dealing with when you have an accident. And if we had concrete trucks trying to come up to do overlays, they're stuck in that traffic, and it's all going to waste and costing time. So we had to always plan out, time everything. It was a lot of meetings, but I mean, it worked out well for the most part. And they're replacing all the drainage throughout here, and then all new concrete barrier, and that's in the south segment. So then phase 3, what does it look like when it's done? So here we are up at the 202 interchange, so we're gonna go north to south here. So that's what the 3 lanes each direction. We have the newly added lane on Brandywine River Bridge on the northbound side. And then here we are in the city. We have our new ramps. Trying to see. Here's the viaduct segment where now this Y ramp right here is now back in its normal configuration. So people from in the city are either taking northbound that way or taking southbound this way. It's another aerial of the viaduct section, 3 lanes each direction. And then here's a shot of the south segment. So this is what it looks like all said and done. It's all brand new hot mix also between the 3 southern bridges and the start of the viaduct, as well as through the at-grade section of the city. And then just covering some quick photos of work activities. This photo shows I've run a lot of big jobs. This was the biggest job I've ever run. But with other construction phasing, depending on the size of the job, if you're going to switch and put traffic in whether you're shifting or contraflow, whatever it may be, a lot of times you can do that in a weekend or sometimes even at night if it's a smaller. It actually took us, you got to think, we're setting almost 5 miles of temporary barrier. How are you getting that in and out? What are the production rates? How do we phase it so that when we don't get it all completed in a night, it's safe for vehicles to still travel next to the next day? So it was a ton of planning. It actually took, I think, every bit of 12 days to get this into phase one, so we actually started the last 2 weeks of February doing all the shifts, shifting the overhead signs, laying out all the barrier, and it took 12 days. But come March 1st, when we put them all in the new configuration, Kiewit hit their deadline and started demoing right away. So here's just a shot of the hydro demo, what the finished product looks like after the machine runs over. The picture all the way to the left, you can see the top of the rebar. We did have areas where we did more shallow hydro demo. We still tried to get the 1-inch amplitude, but then we called out some areas where we did spec'd out deeper hydro, where we wanted to get additional transverse bars in, where we were putting in new overhangs. Just a couple shot of us. They had a pretty well-oiled machine as far as having the hydro section, SSD, and then their whole methods of how they did it, pulling off the poly just before they went to place it, and then getting wet burlap on it ASAP to start the wet cure. Just a demo shot. This is the bridge that goes over Amtrak, or the ramp that does. Just a grading shot. And this shot right here was actually 3 days into the job. This was March 3rd or March 4th. They had already ripped up all of northbound 95 through the city. It was crazy. None of my pictures show how many people that work for the contractor were actually out there, but it was just hundreds and hundreds. I've never seen so many workers on a job site. Slip form and barrier. We did allow slip forming on our bridge decks as well. The install of all the new sign structure foundations. We did replace bearings up at Brandywine River Bridge, so this is a shot of that. And then here's a shot of, we got our overlay down on the northbound side. And our new ramps in the city, which all of our ramps, we did concrete ramps. And just a shot of the pavement. All right, so I'll just touch base real quick on this slide. Some of the things we did to try to improve safety, we reduced the speed limit to 45. We actually used this project, this was huge, because you reduce the speed limit, people don't care. They're still gonna blow through at 80 miles an hour, right? So we actually got this project to be a pilot project for mobile speed enforcement through the use of cameras, automated. So that actually did drastically reduce the number of accidents that we had in the work zone, as well as the speeding numbers went way down. So those were two of the biggest things that we did. As well as we always tried to make adjustments on the fly. If we found people weren't getting it, not reading a sign, we added markings to the pavement as well, the exit only, or whatever it may be, to get people to see this is the way that you go. We also took over 200 signals from the city, and now DelDOT now maintains them, so we're able to adjust flows when we did have an accident. We could adjust all the signal timing in the city to get traffic through there more quickly, based on what was happening. And then real quick, just communication is the key to everything in life, but especially on a job like this, if you're not communicating with your team, you're always gonna have issues, but when you do, you have to be on top of it. We had a great team with this one, as I said. It was Kiewit, WRA, and numerous other consultants also. But and another big thing that helped with this one is we were all co-located. So I had AECOM inspection staff. They were all housed with the DelDOT staff, with the Kiewit staff, and we always had a structural engineer from WRA on site every day. And when a problem would come up, we'd literally just all team up, go right out, start brainstorming, and come up with a solution. And it was an awesome team to work with, and it definitely made the project a success. And then the early work packages and the flexibility that they provided to the schedule. Also, just modifying our phasing as we went along. You're gonna have issues that come up or problems where we had ramps that cars just could not understand. They're going the wrong way and they're turning on. So we'd have to modify our MOT phasing to try to eliminate issues like that. And it's just a constant adjustments on the fly a lot of times. And then just always try to be prepared as best you can for the unexpected. You don't know what that is, but just have a good team in place, ready to communicate, and because time is money. The faster you get the problem solved, the faster the project gets going. So that's all I have. So any questions? Lou, you're
Hey,
not
Kev.
allowed to ask questions.
All right.
All right, go
No,
ahead.
I was just curious about the production rate on the joint replacements. You know, how quickly were you getting them done? Did you have multiple crews working on different joints at one time?
Yes, so multiple crews. So when we were coming up with like cost of what the production rates, especially for the joint removal would be, we kind of went back and forth. Our ice was going, and Key was like, it's going to take us this long. They finally settled on a number. It was way off. So they came in, started trying to do it, and it took like double the time what they thought that it would. And they actually brought in like a ton of crews to get caught up because they were getting behind in the schedule. I mean, I forget what the actual rates, how many hours they were saying they could get like a yard, but I can't remember the exact rates, but I just know they were way under. So. He's got a question.
That's Nancy's side of the room.
Oh, Nancy, you're falling behind.
Just a minor detail. I'm curious, could you describe what the modified Class D mix is?
Yeah, so the modified Class D, so we had done it on some other projects, because the original overlay that was supposed to get, we were supposed to replace the LMC with new LMC. But one of the big things that drove going to a modified Class D was cost. We had to cut a lot of costs because, I mean, this was at the time, the biggest single let contract we had ever had. So the modified Class D is mainly we use it for overlays, and it's essentially just smaller aggregates in it. I don't know if they changed the fiber percentage at all in it, but I think it's just smaller aggregate, and that's essentially what it is.